right, we're back with our insurance data set. I've got it open in Tableau now, and what we want to do is we want to start getting some of these basic univariate measures, statistics for our data. Let's start, just do it one measure at a time. So I've got age here. So I'm going to click on the down arrow there. And even though these are descriptive statistics that we're putting together, or at least a subset of them, the describe here doesn't really give us what we're looking for. It just gives us a little bit of a description of what the field is all about. So that's not what we want to do. We'll just take age and let's make that our columns. Actually, let's make that our rows. So you can see I now have a sum of age that is up there. That's not really what I want. Let's change that to say, instead of the sum, let's do a count of age. So that's a little more what we're looking for. So we might want to know how many data values we actually have in this attribute. And here we can see we have 1,338. I also have one where I can say, well, give me a distinct count. How many distinct values do I have for age? And you can see that gives me a different number. I only have 47 age values here. All right, so that helps me fill in some information. And let's say I was working in my data sheet. Now I filled this in already from Excel, but the 1338 for count, I can fill that in. And because I know I don't have any missing values in any of my fields, I can just copy that all the way down. All right, so count, unique, 47, we already knew that. So let's see what else we can get for this. Let's go to, okay, under worksheet, let's go to show summary. So we can see over here now, I get a little pane that gives me some information on my attribute here. And in this case, let's change it back to a sum. So you can see I've got the sum, I've got let's disaggregate the data. So we'll disaggregate the measures. Okay, so now here's what I'm looking for. I've got my count, again, 1338. And I can see I've got a sum. I'm not too interested in the sum of all the ages, but I have an average age. That's my mean. And then I have a minimum, maximum, and median. All right. And I've got a little drop down here. I can actually tell it to show me more standard deviation. Let's see that first quartile. Let's see the third quartile. And we can even display skewness and kurtosis measures for this variable. So that gives me a lot of what I'm looking for there. And then I can go and repeat this process for the other variables I'm looking at. Okay, now this is going to work fine for all my numeric variables. Let's take a look at another variable to see what we can do. So let's add a new sheet. So I'll call this one age. And let's see, so we've got region. Let's take a look at region. We'll put that in our rows. And you can see what I get is just a list of all my regions. There's nothing to put in there right now from a data standpoint. So let's see what we can do for it. Here I can tell it to show me the minimum value, which is just alphabetical, northeast. Maximum value, not that interesting. I can get a count. So I've got a count of 1338 again, and then count distinct. Well, we know what we're going to get because we saw the whole list, but it does tell us we have 4. So let's see if I can go to my worksheet and show a summary again, and I will disaggregate the data. All right, so I've disaggregated, and you can see I've got a bunch of entries now for each of my 4. Let's see what the summary allows me to do. Yeah, nothing's going to be really useful here other than my count, which I have already. So again, different tools are good at different things. Tableau is probably not expecting us to really worry about missing data as a visualization tool that's going to be used for dashboards and charts. We just kind of ignore the missing data for those types of displays. But let's say I did want to see how many are missing. Okay, so I can create a calculated field. And let's see how we would do that. So I'll click on, let's say, new calculated field. And we will call this missing age. So I'm going to count how many age data items are missing. And I'm basically going to do this by creating a little if-then dummy variable on age that will give me a 1 if there's nothing in that particular value, if age is missing, and a 0 if it's not. And therefore, if I get the sum of that measure, I know how many are missing. So I'll do a sum if. So I'll open up for my sum and start an if, and then in my if function, well, if, and then in Tableau, what I'm looking for is null. So if something is null, and in this case, the something I'm looking for is the age field. So if age is null, well, then I want my new missing age field to be 1. If it's not null, so then the else, I want it to be 0. Okay? And then I can end my function and close my parentheses, and I click OK. So if I were to create a new sheet now and say, oh, let's go to missing age, what do I have? I've got 0. I don't have any missing ages, but we already knew that from our Excel work. So anyway, a little bit clunky doing some of this in Tableau. But for your numeric attributes, it does give you some tools that you can use to see some of the basic descriptive statistics.